Today, I'm very happy to speak with Gus Vonderheide. Gus is the Vice President Global Sales for Hyatt. He's a long-time volunteer in many different associations and has a unique perspective in our industry. We'll be speaking about business travel, group travel, what's changing in the industry, and what we should be expecting the next time we check in an hotel. Enjoy my conversation with Gus. Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Business of Meeting podcast. And today I'm absolutely delighted to speak with an amazing professional, a great friend, somebody I've been waiting to have on the podcast because he's a crazy schedule. It is Mr. Gus Vonderheide. Gus, how are you, my friend?
I'm well, Mr. Rosenberg. Thank you. Nice to see you, sir.
Thank you for taking the time. You're having an amazing career. But I would like first to start by asking you, how really did you join the industry? Is that something that you always wanted to do? Is it by coincidence? Tell us a little bit about you. What's your story?
Well, thank you. My age will be given away here, but I'm celebrating 41 years in the industry this year. And wow. The story, it's a true story. I graduated from high school many, many years ago and not quite sure the direction I wanted to go. I wasn't quite sure I wanted to go to college. I didn't know exactly. And my mother, trying to get me out of the house, probably as an 18-year-old, told me about a new hotel that was opening up down the street. And she said, why don't you go down there and find a part-time job this summer? Or, get. I said, okay. So I got in my car and drove down there and literally got hired that day. And I've been working in the business for 41 years. So I always thank my mom. And I met my wife at that hotel. So I thank her for that too. But that really got me into the business. I started out as a convention service houseman, and that just basically means rolling tables and stacking chairs. I set up banquet rooms and meeting rooms and things like that. And
where was that?
That was at a property called Indian Lakes Resort in Bloomingdale, Illinois. Wow. And actually, I did meet my wife there, and we had our wedding reception there several years later. So nice. It's been it's a great story. But that was here in the Chicago suburbs, and Eric, I tell people, young people all the time coming into the industry, no matter what your job is or what industry you're in, starting off by rolling tables and stacking chairs or whatever that means to you in your world, I think it's the best place to start because it's given me a foundation for this career that has really taken me into many different levels and different jobs, but it's all kind of started at the core, which is pretty cool. So.
I totally agree with you. One of the things I did earlier on, not even my career, it was between 2 years at the business school, that I worked for the Club Med as a GO for the mini club. And we were 2 for 40 children between 4 and 8 years old. And you have to smile all the time. Then you have to rehearse at night for the show. You have to do the show. And you didn't have even one day off at that moment. And I came back home, and for a week, wherever I was sitting, I was falling asleep. But what an amazing experience when it comes to service and knowing what it is to work hard.
I bet. So that's been great. So fast forward, I went away to school. I came back. I worked summers and holidays and weekends and everything I could to keep going. And really, I've worked for 3 companies my entire career. That organization, which I spent 10 years with, and then I went to St. Louis for a few years at a Hilton franchise. I got my first director of sales job there, and I joined Hyatt in 1994, and we'll celebrate 28 years with Hyatt in February. So wow, that's where I've been. Yeah,
it's an amazing journey, and quite frankly, it's unique those days to have such longevity in one organization. It speaks a lot to your professionalism and also to the company employing you, giving you opportunities to learn all the time, right?
I joined Hyatt in 1994. There were 165 hotels globally. As of this morning, there's about 1,250. So we've moved in that direction. It's taken a few years to get there, but I've always said that Hyatt's been big enough to offer me opportunities every time I've been ready for something, and small enough. I know the CEO by his first name, and he knows me, and that means a lot too. So it's a nice combination. It's a real family feel, and it's been just the perfect solution for me for my career.
And then you're the ideal person to speak about what is on everybody's mind right now. Our industry was terribly hit with the pandemic, and we're the first and we're the last to come back. So everybody's talking about the staffing issues. What is being done regarding that?
Yeah, it's a great question, Eric. We furloughed and laid off a large amount of our team, like all of our competitors did, and restaurants and car rentals and airlines. We all were in the same boat. And we all were very optimistic that things were going to turn around and we'd be getting those folks back. You hospitable people are not necessarily trained. It's a DNA that comes with a person that I think you need to find. And and I'm not just speaking for our brand, but all of our brands, we're very proud of that, what we've accomplished over the years. And to have to say goodbye to those people very abruptly was probably the hardest thing that I've had to do in my career. But we felt that, give it 6 months and things would be turning around. Well, here we are now in 18 months and things are starting to lighten up in some areas, but we're not back yet for sure. So we're not bringing back the people to the level that we hoped. So many of these good people held out and waited as long as they could. They went on the unemployment. They looked for little part-time jobs and they wanted to come back. And it just has gotten so long that now we've lost some of those folks. However, we are looking at filling those positions in different ways. We're connected very closely to the hospitality schools. And not that we always hired from those graduating classes, but we're really digging deep and leaning into that in a big way now because we feel that that's really new talent that's coming up in the industry that we want to get our arms around. We've also put together a crew of people within our organization that are unlikely hiring managers. We're not filling the pool with human resources. We're going to our commercial service teams, to our loyalty people, to our sales folks, to our digital and distribution. We've got them doing interviews with people outside the industry. We're trying to bring in some fresh blood and looking for the right people. So yes, we don't have scads of people waiting in line to fill these jobs right now, but we're not resting on our laurels. We're out there looking in new ways. And we feel very confident that as business returns, we will be prepared and ready to go. So those are a couple of ideas that we've got right now. It's working okay.
Because and it's not only in our industry. I'm a member of EO and I have all my friends entrepreneurs, and it's a big challenge to hire people. It depends obviously on the market, but here in South Florida, it's becoming extremely difficult to have good people.
Absolutely.
So you obviously been witnessing our industry for many years. What do you see changing in group business? What has changed, from before the pandemic, but also, remember, it's a seller market. Oh no, it's a buyer market. It's some kind of a pendulum, and I always hear the same thing about we all did this together. We have to help each other, blah, blah, blah. But today, how are you looking at this part of the business, and what should business owners actually learn about that to position themselves better with their customer?
I heard somebody say yesterday, if your company is not changing as fast as the world, you're not going to make it. So I think the key here is that you've got to be in front of it. You can't be afraid to, that muscle memory that we've all had over the years, that we're going to do it that way because we've always done it. The worst possible option right now, you've got to look, even if it's trial and error, fail fast and move on to the next thing is really our where we're at today. We are not thinking any idea is crazy. Nothing's off the table, and we're moving things in so many different directions. So I think that's key to it right there. Buyer's market, seller's market, you mentioned that. If we've ever been in a partner's market, I think that's where we are right now. Our hotels are not out to get anybody. We are having a hard time still keeping the lights on in some of our properties. And occupancy levels that go like this is not a good way to run an operation. We're running 80-90% in some of our destinations on the weekends, and when we get to Sunday and Monday, we're down in the 20%, for instance. It's hard to keep people on the payroll consistently. So we need a little bit of compassion, but at the same time, we know that businesses need to get back to work too. So that's where the partnership, I think, comes to play. We need to understand each other's perspective, walk a little bit in each other's shoes, and really be able to get through this. What's going to change, Eric? I think everything's going to change. Our ballrooms, our meeting space was not built for 6-foot social distancing. That cannot be sustainable. We need to be able to put people back in these rooms that they were built for. And so hopefully that corner is going to be turned pretty quickly with the vaccinations and everybody that's doing the right thing there.
Right.
But food and beverage, the old buffet lines, you're not seeing those today. We're doing that much different. This doesn't mean that we can't still accommodate and we still can't meet the budgets, but it's not going to be a long line, everybody helping themselves, right? That is not COVID friendly whatsoever. So we found ways to reimagine that. Everything is self-contained. Everything's packaged very safely. It still accommodates the same amount of people in the same amount of time. It just looks a little different. When you talk about what's different, Hyatt has introduced a program called Together by Hyatt. And the hybrid meeting component is only a small portion of what Together by Hyatt is. It's an important piece. The technology absolutely needs to be there to bring the home audience and the in-person audience together. But there's food and beverage. We are looking very much at a sustainable product that's local, that's clean and neat, and that's well organized. It looks good, it tastes good, and it accommodates this new life that we have to live in for now. Wellness and well-being is a big part of what Hyatt believes in. And we're doing all the right things to keep those people that are sitting on Zoom calls for 8 hours a day engaged and healthy and part of the equation. So it's a lot of different pillars. I think hybrid meetings will be around for a while. There will be a at-home audience that will be engaged for a while. But we, like you and like all of us, need to get these folks back in the hotels, right? That's how we stay alive. We need heads in beds and we need the butts in the seats in the meeting rooms. And if we can make that happen, then we're back to doing business the way we should be.
And we need it as well as human beings. We're not made to sit on a computer from morning till evening. A lot of the corporation obviously canceled their meetings at that time. We've seen as well that, online meetings works for some aspect of the business relationship. Definitely not when it comes to trade show and negotiation and stuff like that. But there's a lot of companies as well that had a program with airlines, with hotels in general for their business travelers. How do you see the evolution with business travel, group travel in the future? And is it any indication that you can give us in the future? Is it for 2022, 2023? What are you looking at?
Yeah, we were very encouraged that Labor Day here in the United States was going to be the light switch this year, that we felt that people were coming back to their offices, and we think that does go hand in hand with business travel starting again. We now understand that a number of organizations are postponing that date probably till later in the year or maybe even in the first quarter of next. So we're optimistic, but we're being realistic too. We think the ramp's going to be a little slower over the next several months, but we hope and we're encouraged that will happen. I got a quick example of an organization I was talking to last week that was telling me that they canceled their T&E budget, their travel and entertainment budget, because their sales were so strong last year. They felt that they could do it without getting on the road. Well, what happened was they had a pipeline full of tentative business. They were able to make that definite via Zoom. But guess what happened? The pipeline went dry, and it's still dry today. So they came to the terms that was a big mistake, that you can't fill a pipeline and find new business by doing conversations like this.
Yep.
You and I had a chance to be in Vegas together a couple months ago. It was the best thing in the world, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
I mean, you and I got to see 1,000 of our closest friends, and it felt unique and odd, but it was awesome, and everybody was safe. And that's what we need to bring back. But yeah, I think business travel is a big part of our business. Group business is a big part of our business. We need both of those combined in order to maximize revenue and to increase occupancy. So they're going to come hand in hand. Leisure business is driving the track right now. We're very thankful that people are comfortable getting out with their families. Again, it's keeping the lights on in a lot of our hotels right now. So we appreciate that very much.
How do you see organization when it comes to, back to business in terms of bringing everybody in the office? I mean, you and I personally enjoy a lot not having to commute to our office. In the meantime, there's the relationship, there's building the culture that is missing, that you can do so much online. So when I speak with my team here, is that a lot of people say, we were very effective, which is true, but they enjoy the family time. They enjoy being with the children. How do you see organization when it comes to bringing everybody back in the office? I'm not talking about the travel part. I'm talking really going back to your office. And I finished my question with that, but I was reading Google was going from one extreme to the other. Now it's going back 3 days per week. Some companies said, no, you're going to be able to work permanently from home. What do you think is going to happen?
Well, I think you're going to find flexibility. I think you're going to need to, with the younger workforce that's come up, they are they've gotten used to being in home experiences, or even being away from home in an environment that they can still work. So it gives them the flexibility. And today, especially in the competitive workforce, you almost need to make a pretty nice, compelling offer to someone, and that could mean that you've got a few days at home along with the week. At Hyatt, we have said at this point that we're very flexible, but we've said that we'd love to see you, and we've got lots of things going on at the office to try to encourage people to at least come back and check it out. Mm-hmm. I'm personally going in 2 or 3 days a week right now. That's not a bad gig, right? I go in Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and I'm able to stay out in the suburbs on Monday and Friday right now. Yeah. I'm not traveling. In my old life, right, 18 months ago, I was on the road every week. That's been a big life changer for me, is not getting on the airplane and spending half my life at the airport. I'm ready for that again, though. Maybe not 130,000 miles a year like I did the last few, but maybe I'm okay getting back on the road now. So I think people are ready. I think it's been a change, though. I mean, think about it. These young people aren't paying dry cleaning bills. They're not paying restaurant bills. They're not paying commuting parking. I mean, there's a savings that does go along with this too, but that connection is missing. And mm-hmm. I know going into the office and being pulled into ad hoc meetings, some of the best work gets done at things like that. Absolutely. That doesn't happen when you got to set up a Zoom call and find out if you know what I mean? Those ad hoc types of things don't happen. And that, in my mind, that's what's missing in the corporate environment that needs to get back. And
maybe you also faced with the same comments that I have at home when my wife goes, when is your next travel again?
Well, who are you? Why are you here so often? Yeah, I hear that too.
Is Hyatt looking at that trend actually of people not coming back full time to the office as an opportunity to actually create an environment where local people can actually go to an hotel and work there in lobby or in meeting rooms?
Yeah, we've done 2 things like that. One was for, let's say that I'm working from home and I have a very important call, and maybe I had the kids working in the other room on homework and my wife was working in the other office, and maybe my internet was not quite strong enough for everybody. I could go check into a Hyatt, into a room for the day and use the internet and have some nice, in a room, and have some nice food and beverage amenities and mm-hmm. things like that available to me. So that was like a one-on. And then we did a whole other thing where I could take my wife and my kids to a resort, and we'd all have access to work and do our school work from that, but then to have some family time in the evenings to be able to enjoy the amenities of a resort, for instance. So both of those ideas were brought out in a big way about a year ago, and we did extremely well with those. And now here comes, school starts again this week for a lot of the country. And there's some going back and some not. So I think those ideas will come back around for a while, but they definitely are successful.
Excellent. Now we're going back to the hotel experience. With the shortage of talent, and some hotels have been closed. And I'm not speaking specifically about Hyatt, but in the industry in general. What should people be reasonably expecting when they're going back to the hotel? And now, I'm not talking about the people with their first world problem, but regular, normal customer that have an experience with hotels in general, in terms of room service, in terms of staff. Yes. What are reasonable expectations, and for how long for people going back to hotels?
Have you seen that sign that's been posted around? It says, "The whole world is short-staffed. Be nice to people who showed up." I think that's a pretty neat a neat quote to say, you know what, we are in a little bit of a situation now that we're trying to rebuild, and we have to rebuild as occupancy rebuilds. Once compression and occupancy comes back, we'll be able to bring on folks and keep them steady. So it's a ramp up period for both sides. But your road warrior, right? The individual that's on the road all the time has expectations, and they have a very high expectation of what they're going to receive when they walk in a hotel. I got to believe that, whether it's masks or no masks, if it's social distancing or no social distancing, there are going to be some things that are clearly different. Not bad, just different. And, we talk about touch points, the areas and opportunities that a individual guest will come in contact with, whether it's the front desk, the spa, the restaurants, the health club, even their guest room. Everything's going to look a little bit different. And I think you need to be prepared for that. I'll give you a couple examples. In the guest room, you're not going to see a paper compendium and the happy hour offer on a tent card in the guest room. All that stuff's been cleared out. Is that a bad thing? I don't think so. I think the room looks neater. I think it's going to be less labor to have to go in and replace all those because they get stained or torn. It's all done on the device now, right? You go in and get the code, and you've got all the offers that are available to you. Your room service menu is there. You can order room service through a text mechanism on your phone. You can change the channel. You can stream television on your device. There'll still be a house phone in the guest room, obviously for emergency purposes, but you're not going to see a lot of things in the room that are going to look dangerous or potentially unsafe. I think all that has been removed, and I feel very confident. And not only Hyatt, I'll speak for the industry, all the major brands and independents too. These hotels have got it right. We are absolutely prepared and ready for your return. So I think that's a key message. We talked about restaurants already. You're not going to see the buffets, right? There's going to be differences there. Banquets are going to look a little different. You're not going to see the family style passing around the plates. That's not COVID friendly right now. So we're going to figure out ways of doing that differently. The health clubs, you may see the equipment spread out a little bit. Maybe the treadmills will be moved a little bit around. So you're not going to have as much interaction with someone next to you. So I would say from, food and beverage meetings, front desk experience. Again, if you remember several years ago, we completely blew up our lobbies and we took away that long bank-like front desk. We made them all these individual pods. Why did we do that? So we could walk around and shake hands and thank the customer. So now we've got the plexiglass up, but that's temporary. I promise you that'll go away, and we'll get back to that warm and fuzzy again. But it looks different right now. I've stayed in enough hotels to know that there are some things that have been done for all the right reasons, and it doesn't change the experience. It just fixes the problem for now. So,
in this environment, Gus, for people that own their business in our industry, what are the opportunities? Knowing that a lot of companies, I'm talking about the customer side here, a lot of companies have furloughed or lay off a lot of their people, including in the meetings department, but also now on the hotel side, where probably less salespeople or people that are able to reach different customer, and it's all this landscape which is changing. What are the opportunities for independent business owners?
I think there's great opportunity. I think that it's, as I said earlier, I think it's either you're changing or you're not, and you've got to stay fresh and look at things and react to them quickly. And like I said earlier, plan to fail and fail fast, and then move on, because you can't let the other guy get in your way. I think you need to look at resources differently than you have in the past. If the line of potential candidates is not lined up outside your door, you need to be creative in the way you're going to find them. You need to be creative in the benefits that you're offering. Again, someone who's at the stage I am in my career versus someone that might be in their late 20s or 30s just starting out. It's a different animal. It's a very different world that we're living in, and I think you need to be extremely flexible, but at the same time have high expectations. There's no reason why you should lower your expectations and bring in less than quality individuals that don't bring the right mindset. You can train someone with a good mindset. I believe that if they're customer focused, if they're friendly, if they're hospitable, in my world, that's the key. But you got to have that walking in the door, because that's hard to change someone's morale. People always said I'm a people person, and people got sick of hearing that. It's like, yeah, I know, but there's some truth in that. Not everybody is people. So it's an interesting dynamic.
And not everybody you said it are exactly the same. When it's the same thing when people tell me that I want you to be authentic and telling me exactly the way you think, until you start being authentic and telling them exactly the way you think.
And they don't want you to be that way anymore. That was too much. I don't want to hear that anymore.
Yeah, right. You were referencing people that are actually coming into the industry. You've been an amazing leader. You are an amazing leader. You're giving a lot back. You've been involved with MPI, with GBTA, and meeting in business and everything. What is your recommendation for people joining the industry? Should they join association, or is it a waste of their time?
Oh my gosh, no. And thank you for recognizing the fact that that's been a big part of my career, and I've gotten so much out of it. I think my recommendation to people entering the business is be flexible, and I don't mean necessarily demographically. I mean, as a young sales individual in this business, I moved around a lot. We transferred 5 times in 10 years with 2 kids, and bought homes and sold homes, and we did what we had to do to move up and continue to larger hotels, and that's the way you grow in this business that I'm in. But be flexible in the job that you're doing too. I mean, most of my career has been in sales, but I worked front office. I rolled tables and stacked chairs, like I told you before. I mean, I've worked in purchasing. I've done some things that have really made me better rounded in this industry because I've done it. And so don't be afraid to start at the bottom, and don't be afraid to get exposure to different parts of the operation, whether it's hotels, restaurants, convention centers, anything you're working in. Don't feel like you're above it. Feel like you're right in it, and you want to learn from the bottom, because somewhere down your career, you're going to say, thank God I did that, because now I can speak to it, and really understand what I'm saying. So.
And what about the association, professional association, and volunteering for association?
Oh, yeah. So thank you for that. Yeah. So whether it's BTN, GBTA, MPI, HSMAI, I mean, I've spent time in all of them, learned a ton, and boy, oh boy, have I met good people. I mean, I look back over my career, and some of my very best friends are folks that I have spent time, whether it was on a committee or on the board or just at a social event, and had a chance to meet that I never would have had that chance. I would have never been given that opportunity if I wasn't putting myself out there and making sure that I was involved in those conversations and projects. It takes some work, and you got to raise your hand. And sometimes it means more work on your plate and longer hours. And, am I getting paid for that stuff? No. But guess what? You are. In many ways, it's coming back to greatly pay you. So I'm a big fan of that, Eric. And I think you know that. You and I have had shared some board tables and things like that. It's been a wonderful, wonderful property.
Yep, I totally agree. And I was asking the question, obviously, a little provocative, but I've been talking with some younger professionals. Why would I waste my time in association? Say, ladies and gentlemen, you don't know how much you're learning, the contact you're building, the learning you have, the enjoyment. It's life-changing, absolutely life-changing. Agreed. Now, one last question, because I know you're very, very busy. When we meet in 1 year, and obviously we're going to meet earlier this year for sure, but just give us 12 months perspective. When we meet in 1 year with a bottle of champagne, what will we be celebrating?
In 1 year, I think we're going to be celebrating that we'll look back over COVID, and maybe we'll be smarter because of it. We'll be more creative because we'll figure out ways that we've been able to continue to connect and do business even in such a crazy time. I think we're going to be back to, some kind of normal. And I don't want to say normal was 2019. I don't. I mean, everybody uses that year as kind of the benchmark, but I'm not sure we know what normal is anymore. There'll be things that we've learned that will continue. Think about 9/11. Think about 2008. In our industry alone, we do things different today than we did prior to those. And I think some of this stuff will stick. It'll be good stuff. It'll be stuff that's safe and healthy and more, it'll be more cost savings, but it'll result in nicer rewards maybe. So I think I just hope that we're all safe and we're all, we're here to see it. And I think we will. I think there's so much being done to move this behind us. And, I hope Hyatt, I'll give a little commercial. I hope that we continue to be the brand of choice on the other side of this, because we've shown our creativity and our flexibility. We've met the customer where the customer needs to be throughout the entire process. We've not drawn a hard line in the sand and said, you're going to do business our way or no way. That's not been our process. And I think I'm hoping it's going to pay off. So,
you know what? You should be in sales one day.
I'll think about that. Maybe my next job.
Thank you so much, guys. If somebody wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way to reach you?
Yeah, my email address is great. Gus.Vonderheide@Hyatt.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much, my friend. I can't wait to see you again face to face very soon.
My pleasure. Always good to see you, sir. Thanks. Take care.
Thank you, Gus, for sharing your knowledge and showing us what a true professional, which is always focused on sales and delivering value, is. I just love our conversation. And more importantly, I just love seeing you and meeting you, interacting with you at conference. A fabulous human being. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to connect with me, please go on LinkedIn or join my Facebook group, www.eventbusinessformula.com/group. Thank you. Bye-bye.